as you can see here, we have another confirmed lock with this girl. So she's a leopard firefight clown, het pied. I did have her tested, so she is 100% het pied. She's possible OD. And this male is a clown pied super OD YB fire. So a week or two ago, I had somebody ask me, how do you make sure, and I don't remember the exact question, but it was something along the lines of, make a video about how do you make sure you're not kind of spreading yourself too thin with projects, kind of keeping it focused. And really, the only way to do that is to plan. You need to kind of figure out what you want to breed, what your end goal is, and what it's going to take you to get there. So typically my strategy, and now this has evolved since 2019 when I started breeding, is that, my first thing was I like blue-eyed Lucies. So the first thing I did was started breeding blue-eyed Lucies. After that first season, when I realized at that point in time, blue-eyed Lucies, just, all white, blue eyes, super lesser, Mojave lesser, whatever, $500 a piece, $600 a piece, easy, all day, sold really fast, striking snake, beautiful. And over the course of time, my collection has evolved. My ideas of what my projects were going to be have evolved. I had no idea what lightning pieds were until I came across the guy selling the pair that I bought. It was sort of out of nowhere. I wasn't planning on getting into it. But when the pair popped up, I was just in the spot in my business building where I was like, well, I need to start spending money on nicer stuff. So I started focusing. That project sort of fell into my lap. But I knew I wanted to get an Ultramel pied. So I bought a nice male from Aussie. And it's very easy for you to kind of go all over the place, right? It's very easy for you to get in the clown over here, and DG over here, and sunset over here, and hypo over here, and pied over here, and 5 different types of xanthic over here, and monsoon over here. I mean, it's very easy to just get lost. There's people that dive down rabbit holes with unproven genes, with dinkers, with side projects. And you have to really focus it because you can just waste a lot of money doing that stuff. Personally, I do not deal with dinkers or the lesser known genetics or the lesser used genetics, especially if those genes have been around for a very long time. If it's a new gene that's coming up and there's some promising looking stuff with it, that's completely different. But if it's a gene that's been around for 15, 20 years and there hasn't been anything really exciting created with it, I don't touch it. As far as keeping the focus is, my first focus in recessives was really on pieds. I was very pied heavy my first year breeding, recessives mainly, and I still am pretty pied heavy. Most of what I produced last year was visual pied, but they're also het clown or het MJ xanthic or het desert ghost. Now this year, I'm trying to flip-flop it so that I'm heavier on clowns that are going to be het pied because it's sort of where the market is. It's very clown heavy at this point. Obviously, other projects are working in there as well. I have MJ pied stuff. I have my black xanthic hypo pied stuff. I have a lot more hypo pied stuff this year to work into the clown pied projects. Let's see. Obviously, DG clown pied is something else I'm working in. MJ xanthic clown pied is something else I'm working. So there's obviously most people are shifting towards double recessives, triple recessives. Quads are still very hard to make, unless you have a quad and a quad visual and you're breeding them together. They're still very hard to make and hard to hit those combos. But it's all about really sitting down and thinking to yourself, well, I have so much space. Let's just say I have a rack. Let's say I have a 5540 and it fits 40 animals. That's all the space I have other than hatchlings, but we're not considering those. We're just talking about the adults. So I have 40 snakes. And let's say you want to dedicate 32 of those tubs to females and 8 of those tubs to males. Let's just break it down like that so that you have a good ratio of males to females. Close to 1 to 4 if you can do it. So you have to think, well, maybe that's 4 or 5 different projects, realizing that you're probably going to have some females that don't grow very fast or don't breed as quickly. You're going to have some males that don't like to breed, like I'm dealing with right now, my DG Clown project. My number 1 option is not breeding anybody. My number 2 option is doing a pretty good job of breeding. And the same thing's happening with my DG Pied project. My original option to breed in that project has had like 1 lock, whereas my number 2 option, which is also my number 2 option from the DG Clown project, is locking with things. So he might end up being used for both of those projects. So if you have 40 spots and you're going to have 8 males and 32 females, realizing that some of those males are going to be backups, some of those females aren't going to go for you right away, you need to think about it probably as like 4, maybe 5 different projects that you're working on. So you're trying to keep those males to 1 to 4 ratio, give or take. So if you're working on 4 projects, what's the best thing to do with those 4 projects? What do you really want to work on? What projects do you want to be in? What do you want to breed? And I think the biggest thing that most people overlook, and that I have never really seen anybody talk about, is how is everything in my collection going to work together? Because when I'm choosing a snake, I try to keep similar genes or hets or recessives that are complementary to each other. And this male is a perfect example. So this male didn't prove out to be het MJ until after I proved him out this season. But so this guy he's not locked up anymore right now, but he's Orange Dream Blade, pied, het Clown, het MJ. He works with everything. He works great in the Clown project. I don't necessarily love him with the pied project specifically, but he has made some amazing clowns for me over the past year. He works in the MJ project. He works in 3 very nice, very, very nice recessive projects. So then I have a female like this who's an OD Blade Clown. This pairing works with really anything. And the fact that I can make a double Super OD, Super Blade Clown that's going to be 100% het pied and pos het MJ from this pairing is fantastic. Now this male, I can breed him to visual clowns and make some beautiful snakes. I wouldn't necessarily breed him to just probably not visual pieds, because OD Blade, as you can see, wasn't anything too fantastic just with pieds. But breeding it and making clown pieds, well, that's another option. And that's what we did over here. He was bred to this female. So how many OD Blade clown pieds have you seen? Probably not many, if any at all. And so he's making me potential OD Blade clown pieds when paired with this female. Guess what else he does? He works in another project. He works in the Lightning Pied project. So I take him up here, and this female is due to lay eggs in a couple days. So he's making me Lightning Pieds as well. So he can make me clown pieds. He can make me lightning pieds. He can make me exanthic, lightning clowns, which, to be honest, again, I have never actually seen one. I've never seen an MJ exanthic clown before. And I don't have great odds of hitting those anytime soon, but I kept back, let's see. I have, one female, 2, 3, 4 females at least that I kept back from that project last year that'll be ready to breed by the end of the year. And apparently, from what I saw today, RGI is getting ready to release shed testing for all of the exanthic lines, so I can shed test them to figure out which ones are actually visual clowns or visual or het MJ. But I'll be able to make MJ clowns at that point. So that one male, with him having two nice genes, OD and Blade, don't work really bad with anything. They're not necessarily showstoppers. They're not the newest or brightest or best genes, but they work with basically everything. And he works on multiple projects. That male can cover the bases for anything. He can make me clowns. He can make me exanthics. He can make me clown pieds. He can make me lightning pieds. He can make me lightning clown pieds. He can make me lightning clowns. He can do everything. So I choose to build my projects around what works with what else I have, because you can't go out and buy everything. And the stuff that I produced last year is all in those same projects. They're all have some form of clown or pied or MJ or black exanthic or hypo and DG. So I'm working like 6 different recessives, but the snakes that I'm producing, I have some hypos up here that are pos het, pied, and black exanthic, and then I have some hypopieds that are pos het, black exanthic, right? And then I have a pinstripe hypopied, or I have a clown pied that's het hypo, or I have a hypo that's het clown pied, right? So if I take a hypopied that I'll test for black exanthic, if it tests out black exanthic, so I have a hypopied male, it's black-head leopard Mojave, it's het black exanthic. If I take it to a clown pied het hypo, I'm making hypopieds that are going to be het clown, pos het black exanthic, and then have a few genes in them as well. That hypopied het black exanthic can work across a bunch of different projects. So it's really like you don't want to have a genetic stripe project over here and a hypo project over here and then a pied project over there. A bunch of obscure things that don't meld together. Because of the pricing of snakes right now, it's very cheap to get a hypopied. Clown pieds aren't even very expensive at this point compared to what they used to be. I saw them listed down just plain clown pieds at $1,000 recently. You couldn't even get them for under $5,000 a couple years back. So prices are insane. And I mean, the best way to think about it is I need to be breeding in projects. I don't want a sausage fest. I cannot have 10 males and 10 females. You need to keep a ratio of 1 to 4 at least. I mean, that's that male that I just showed earlier. He has produced a clutch with this calendar year, not including last year, this female. It's 1, 2. He is breeding 3, 4. He paired up to her, but I'm hoping a different male gets that one, but that could be 5, 6, and then 7. So he's bred 7 females this calendar year. He's still in great body shape. He has stopped eating over the last couple months, so probably after he breeds these 2 OD Blade clown females through until they lay eggs, he might get a break until this female, which is the exact same copy as him, she's an OD Blade pied double het MJ clown, until she's ready to go again from last year, he'll probably get a break. But the point of the story is you need to have powerful males that can work across multiple of your projects just as a kind of a security blanket. but ultimately you should be probably trying to weave all of your projects together because it gives you options. You're not kind of keyholed to, well, I have this one project and it's so far over in left field that it doesn't match up with anything else I'm doing. When you do stuff like that, you're stuck and you're kind of just pushing that project's over there. I don't want to breed a POS a het sunset to a POS het clown, and then you're producing stuff that's like, I don't know if there's anything in it, and I have to shed test everything because my odds of hitting anything are so low. You don't want to have to be doing that. You want to make sure that everything is kind of matching up, and you're kind of not all over the place. So something to think about. That's kind of a lot of information, but that's the way I keep my projects tight, is that I'm not like constantly bringing new projects in here. I have like a good foundation for certain things. The way I worked on it was I bought a nice male a few years back from Aussie. It was OD Leopard Firefly Yellow Belly Enchi Ultra Male Het Pied. So that male was being bred to ultra male stuff and pied stuff to make pied het ultra males and to make more ultra males. I bought the Blackhead Leopard Mojave triple het black exanthic hypopied male from Justin a couple years back. I bred him to a hypopied female and 3 black exanthic females. So I made some hypopieds and I made some black exanthics from him. That moves that project forward. I had that OD Blade pied double het clown MJ. So I bred him to a bunch of clowns last year to just get some clown het pieds that are POS het MJ. I bred him to the 2 MJs, and I bred him to the other female like him. So you're keeping these projects together, you're building them, you're not getting them all over the place. And now that I have those snakes, all those clown het pieds, POS het MJs that he produced last year that I held back, I can choose to do with them whatever I want. They work in the clown pied project. Some of them will work in the lightning clown pied project. But at the very least, they all work in the clown pied project. And because of that, I have some 3 or 4 gene clown het pieds that are going to be upgrades over the pastel clown het pieds that I have, or the pastel pied het clowns that I have. In a couple years, those will all be gone, and all the snakes I'll be working with will hopefully just be double visual clown pieds that have 2, 3, 4 genes. So you have to look down the road. You need to build it out, and especially if you have limited space, you need to think of it like if you have a 5540, 8 males max, 32 females, and you'll hope that you get 30 clutches out of that. Probably not. Maybe let's just say 25. But if you get 25 clutches, you need to have the males that are able to do the work. So keep it tight. Make sure you kind of mark down what you're doing. I always suggest in getting the right males for the projects. If you know that you want to work hypopied and you need to pick up some hypopied females now, that's probably a good option. And then in a year or two, look for a nice hypopied project male to work into it. Maybe you get a clown pied male that's had hypo that is probably going to be a little cheaper in a year, that brings in another recessive into that project. So it is definitely looking down the line for most of this stuff, especially if you're trying to do it as a side hustle or a business. It's not just as simple as, well, that snake's pretty, I'm going to go buy it. I see too many people do it. There's still people on my Patreon doing it. I'm not calling anybody out. And it's not even anybody specifically. But some people just, they go somewhere and they see something pretty and they pick it up. But the thing that does to you is it takes up space in your rack. It's one more snake you have to feed, and you don't know what to do with it. And at the end of the day, you're probably going to end up having to move it at some point. Or you're making a clutch with a bunch of babies that might be very hard for you to sell. So you have to keep all that in mind. That was a very good question. I don't remember who posted that. I need to start writing down who posts these questions so I can mention it. Very good question, though, and hopefully that information helps you guys out. We will see you tomorrow.